A warm welcome to all of you. I'll give a quick introduction of Mr. Abdullah. He's currently leading he's the leader of the 2030 Vision Transformation for Cybersecurity in Madinah Health Cluster. His goal is to ensure the highest level of protection across different platforms and elements in health organizations, including spreading awareness of cybersecurity. Warm welcome to all of you. And I would request, okay, let me just see. I would request Mr. Abdullah to please start his video and then start our discussion. I think we will be, one of our panelists is going to be a little delayed. Gigi Thomas is slightly delayed, but we can get started with this panel discussion. And I would request.
Hi, Anisha, how are you?
Hi, how are you? I'm still waiting for Mr. Mohammed to join. Mohammed is here. I'm waiting for Mr. Abdullah to join us. But let's start with one question to you, Mohammed. You know, data analytics is one where we hear of being used with AI for a lot of personalization, customization. And you know, while data can be used to detect threats, and you need AI ML there as well. But data is what the hackers are gunning for. So how do you use data while protect data at the same time? Question to you, Mohammed.
Thank you, Anisha, for the question. I hope the moderator and the other colleagues, panelists should join as soon as possible, but like not to waste the time, let me speak over here, like addressing critical cybersecurity and privacy needs through the development, integration, and promotion of standards and guidelines, tools and technologies, methodologies, tests, and measurements. You know, these are the core critical things for cybersecurity applications. Now, as you have raised a question related to AI, let me tell you, like presently, artificial intelligence and machine learning are playing a very critical role throughout the industries. And especially for cybersecurity, I think we can implement a number of RPA automation processes with robotic process automation. This typically refers to automated systems to handle low cognitive functions such as scanning, monitoring. These can be done by an automation tool where things come up by itself. And the same RPA can improve security with automated rollouts and updated of like patching. This can also be achieved with machine learning and artificial intelligence with RPA. RPA doesn't tire or mentally, they are strict, like they just clock out on the job. No, they are 24/7. Though they are working around the clock. It just requires, you can say, in the initial, a lot of work that has to be done for the tuning, and the entire process has to be automated in a way where things go smoothly and like for a couple of processes. And even it limits human involvement in the management of sensitive program information. There are many ways where we can implement. Secondly, you can get the scene and the sort where the data is visible and viable, like it is readable. Okay, SIM is going to be okay.
Mohammed, we have our moderator who has joined us, Mr. Abdullah Marghalany. Thank you so much for joining us. I had just asked Mohammed to tell us about how data is being used for cybersecurity. So if you could just introduce this topic, and we'll have our speakers with us to chat with you about this.
Okay, thank you, Anisha. I apologize for late of joining for technical issue. I just joined. Thank you, Mohammed, for starting, and thank you, Anisha. Thank you. Also, I want to start by the term of the big data. What is the big data? What is refers to? Actually, big data is refers to the massive amount of digital information that collecting by companies or organizations, and it's it's roughly the data is roughly double every 2 years. Actually, according to the security with the big data, there are many issues, but the magnified by which known as 3 V's of data, the volume, verity, and velocity of big data. It's the diversity of data sources, formats, and data flow combined with the streaming nature of data acquisition and high volume creates unique security risks. In nowadays, there are 2 more V's have emerged over the past few years: value and veracity. Data has intrinsic value, but it is of no use until that value is discovered. Equally important, how truthfully and how truthful is your data, and how much can you rely on it. Also, securing these huge sets of knowledge is one of the daunting challenges of massive data. Often, companies are so busy in understanding, storing, analyzing their data sets that they push data security for later stages. And this is obviously it is incorrect, and it is an issue. So how they can solve this issue? They need to recruiting more cybersecurity professionals to help him to guard their data. Also, there are many other steps, but this is the most important one. Other steps can be data encryption, data identity and access control, implementation of endpoint security real time, monitoring and use big data security tools, of course. This is I hope I introduced what we will discuss with in this panel. For no more talking, and I want to back to my panelists and Mr. Mohammed and Mr. Gigi, and they will talk more about this subject and these issues. Mr. Mohammed.
Yes, Mr. Abdullah, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Even I'm good.
Thank you for joining, and thank you for time. And I hope we can deliver a great panel and a great on-site for this subject with you. Mr. Mohammed, please could you start just introduce yourself in 1-2 minutes, please?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you very much. First of all, thanks to the entire event organizers, those who have arranged this event, and to the sponsors. I am Mohammed Sibgathullah, Director Information Technology. I'm working with NatPed since last 15 years. And, the journey was it's a little bit long, but I have learned as I have grown in this industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Mohammed, let me ask you that. What is the 5 critical attributes of effective cybersecurity risk management?
Okay, thank you very much again, Abdullah, for raising this question, because this is a kind of critical question where I'm sure most of the people wanted to, and they have to actually follow those things. First of all, the first and the core important is going to be an effective framework. There are a number of frameworks in the market, out over there. There are a number of solution providers. They are providing the entire solution and the framework. So example, just let me give you ISO 27001. You have got COVID, you have got NIST. So it's something like the cybersecurity team and the head of it has to decide what is the best practices accordingly to your regulation. Coming back to Saudi Arabia, presently we have got NCA, and I think the NCA are playing a very, very important role. And they have developed tremendously in last 3 years. They started in 2017, but now if you see it, they are the most aggressive ones, which I think I'm dealing with it right now. So the framework has to be set up to achieve the best of the cybersecurity. Okay, then this is going to be the first and the core part of the attribute. The second is going to be your end-to-end scope. Like you have to have an effective program, must be comprehensive or end-to-end in scope. That is, the program must address all the critical elements that need to be protected in a company. You have to identify, first of all, where are the weak points and what is the data which is going to be useful, which is critical for the company, critical for the business. So all these things has to be identified, which is going to be kind of end-to-end scope, which will help you to come up with a long working strategy, I should say. And then we move on to the attribute 3, that is the core, I should say, it is one of the heart of the entire journey, which is going to be the risk assessment, thorough risk assessment and threat monitoring. Risk assessment, let me tell you, like it is a continuous process. It is not something like we are going to have a risk assessment today and we close the things. No. Any new technology, any new solution, anything, any new business model you're going to get it, you have to have a risk assessment. And this risk will be changing on daily basis. Let us take an example of getting a kind of threat modeling, like even because the patches, what all it is coming on weekly basis, it is coming on daily basis. So you have to get yourself in a position where you manage the entire risk and you do the threat modeling as per the requirement. The cybersecurity team can develop a decision heat map that plots the potential risk against the cost and effort that would be required to protect against it. Last of all, if there is any kind of attack which is happening, just do a comparison between what will be the year loss. Definitely, it is going to be huge for any company, and then have a kind of you can say a difference, like what will be the advantages if you're going to take a prerequisite and you plan prior to any kind of attack. So you have to be proactive to take these decisions. And risk assessment is, as I said, a continuous process, so it has to be taken into consideration on a very high level. Then fourth one is proactive incident response planning. Even you have to be aware of the entire incident. You have to be aware, and if there is any incident occurs, what will be your plan? What will be your steps to overcome that, and how sooner you are going to be back? So these all things has to be defined. Have to be, you can say, a kind of policy has to be developed where things are easily accessible. If there is any kind of incident happens, then the entire team should be on toes to overcome and bring the systems and the entire critical information back as soon as possible. And it covers most of the thing. You can develop and implement a containment and investigation strategy. Underneath that, you can have an inventory and understand the data to be protected. You can have an inventory and classify incidents. Incidents are even classified into low, medium, high, critical, what all it is. It depends upon your business. It depends upon what kind of data it is critical to your company. You can identify the stakeholders in developing that, and you can have develop and implement an evidence preservation strategy where you should have everything in place if there is any kind of incident happens in your business unit. Then the last, I feel like dedicated cybersecurity resources. Presently, I think the resources, overall resources on an IT perspective and even on cybersecurity perspective, it's a very less comparatively to the requirement, because if you see the requirement throughout the world, it is a huge requirement where you need to have skilled technical cybersecurity people, those who are going to be on ground and and safeguarding the entire company. So these resources has to like develop. I'm sure many countries are lacking this, but at the same time, even those who already have it, I think they need to have even continuous improvement. There are n number of new technologies, new courses, new educational things which are coming up. So everybody has to accept this challenge, and they have to update themselves to achieve the entire attributes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mohammed, for this informative information. Thank you. Actually, I liked when you linked the risk with the strategy, and this is very important point. You cannot do your strategy and your cybersecurity strategy, and which is most important thing you do when you be in the cybersecurity chief officer or ahead of the cybersecurity, without you having a cybersecurity assessment, risk assessment. Mr. Mohammed, since our session and our discussion title is optimal use of big data and what is the key to future-proof cybersecurity. So our audience asking about what is future-proof cybersecurity?
Okay, thank you once again, Abdullah. Future-proof cybersecurity is like, a focus on the attack that hackers are preparing for. You have to be prepared, and you have to think in from all the aspects, how you're going to mitigate this, how you're going to act proactively before an attacker takes an advantage of you, of your entire information. Because hackers are constantly looking for new ways to breach your defense. It makes sense to stop before they have a chance. So you have to come up with a plan, and you have to have a kind of understanding what all they might be thinking. So we have to utilize the big data in sense of this to have a challenging and at the same time a proactive approach where we are ready to mitigate any kind of attack or hacker which is trying to do that. And as I said you earlier also, it has to have a strategy. So definitely the strategy again will come on many aspects, but just to target those few things, where if you're going to, for future-proof your cybersecurity, you need to tackle 3 critical areas. First is human. Human is like employees, users, people, those who are internally working in each and every company. Those users has to be aware of each and every facts of cybersecurity related attacks. Let me give you like phishing attacks. There are n number of things where users do without a kind of, they don't have a lack of, they have lack of awareness sessions. So they have lack of understanding of the entire cybersecurity. So they mess up, even like sharing of passwords. Let me tell you, like for many of the users, it is something like, okay, I have just changed the password. No, it cannot be. So a human error has to be the first and critical point where everybody has to focus. We have to train and provide awareness to the entire employees or users, normal users. Okay, IT users might be aware, but at times even IT users are doing more of blunder mistakes. So you have to have awareness sessions and multiple sessions to know. And at the same time, as I have mentioned, you have to understand your enemy. Okay, just assume like your enemy is a hacker who wanted to get into your systems, and they wanted to get the control of the entire data. So you have to think in all aspects, 365 degrees, how you could stop these attacks, and at the same time, how you're going to safeguard your company's assets. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mohammed, and all of us agree with you that the employee and is the most weakness point you have, and in the same time they are the first guard you have, so they can protect you or they can fill you down. But as you said, the awareness program is very important, and we need to deal with all our every issue and teach our employee what is the attacks, what is there of what threats is there in the world, and how hacker can phishing him and target him. Let me ask you something. Why is future-proof in cybersecurity is so important? Why is future-proof cybersecurity is so important?
It is very, very important and critical. I have already mentioned about, like, the critical attributes, what has to be done to have it. But at the same time, if you see about technological aspects, there are a number of new technological things coming up. Let me give you an example of IoT. You have got now devices each and everywhere. Assume if you know a device, a sensor device, which is a vulnerable device, and if it can be taken into consideration that it can be hacked on an easy way out from a hacker perspective. So as if you are aware, you have to be clear enough and you have to have a plan to safeguard those things, because now the data is the core part of the entire business unit. And at the same time, you have to be aware of threats. You may not, you have to consider, as I said, Internet of Things, particularly targets the attacks, and the number of attacks which is happening because of these devices are on high percentage as of now. So when your business is aware of potential sources, such as any IoT devices, any wireless connectivity, anything which is going to be external to the world, you have to continue using them in a very safe and very disciplined manner, where you have to have the mitigation processes in place to overcome any vulnerability. For that, I even suggest, especially many companies, and even we follow it, we do a vulnerability assessment on weekly basis. We have got certain tools which we run up, and so we get to know ourselves on weekly basis, where we are standing and what is lacking and what has to be done. So we follow and we try to mitigate the issues right now, what is coming up. But it is as important it could be, because the data is coming from everywhere. You see yourself asking in your home, how many devices are connected right now to your one home. Earlier, a couple of years back, it used to be 2 to 3. Now I'm sure it is right now minimum 10 devices, which was said to us in 2017 and 18. And I think that today we are over there. So the data is the core thing, and the connected devices are the critical part, where the connected devices are the ones which are having more threat for any kind of attack. So those devices has to be taken into a high priority basis to safeguard those things, those devices.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed. Thank you. I have last questions for you after we talk about the attributes of effective cybersecurity risk management, and after we defined what is the future-proof cybersecurity, and thanks for you, we discussed how important it is, and it was clear. People ask, since you mentioned the strategy many times, people ask, how can I include future-proof cybersecurity strategy in my strategy, and what should be included in this strategy for the future-proof cybersecurity strategy? What should I include, or what should there?
Yeah, see, first of all, you have to be aware about your business, your company, okay, and the goals and the objectives which has been defined. I'm sure each and every industry and company is presently defining a kind of role for the entire cybersecurity, and it is not only the cybersecurity department who has to play this role. it has to be all the stakeholders. It has to be the entire company who has to follow the entire process of cybersecurity to safeguard companies' assets. It's not a single department who is going to take care and who's going to manage and who's going to run. Okay, the core people are there, but at the same time, the entire company has to be involved and all the stakeholders has to be equally participating and getting things done in a way that it has to be. Now, on the strategy basis, you need to have a clear, first of all, as I said, you like already for attributes, so let us go back and get some few things from there. The first and the core important is you need to have a framework. As I've already mentioned, NCA has come up with a very, very strong framework, and they are upgrading it on a regular basis. And if you follow the NCA regular framework, I'm sure you are complying to NCA as well as to most of the regulations. So I suggest to stick to that regulation, NCA, and you will be able to achieve the entire strategy, first of all, your plan. Then coming back to your basically the entire plan for this one, risk management. Risk management has to be the core and the important part, where you have to go through with the risk. As I said, it usually comes up like every new technology has got new risk. Every new week you have got new risk. So not on weekly basis, but I still suggest at least on quarterly basis, the entire team and the people, those who are responsible, has to sit across with everybody, and especially the cybersecurity team and the IT team and the IT/OT team, I should say, to come up and just re-evaluate the risk. Definitely today, whatever the risk, if it is going to be in high, that risk can still remain, but it can even change it into a low or medium. And you need to have a incident management plan into that. If you have a kind of a disaster recovery and business continuity, you need to have that also. And you need to have, once you have a platform, you can even just move on from that to an automation, to have machine learning, to utilize the new technological things in artificial intelligence, all these aspects.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed, and thank you for mentioning this, especially when you said about what do you have and what is the current, when you mentioned that the current state. And when he look to the current state, he must see what are the challenges he have, like vulnerability or to fake data generation, struggling data provenance. All of these are challenges and must be seen, as you mentioned, must be seen before creating the data or big data strategy, the data strategy. So thank you for all this information. Thank you for these great answers. It was very helpful, very informative.
Thank you, Abdullah. And thanks again to entire sponsors and the event organizers.
Okay, Mr. Anisha.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Abdullah and Mr. Mohammed, for joining us for this chat on how data can be used in cybersecurity. Our other speaker was running late and unable to join, but we thank you both for sharing your ideas on how data can be accessed and used for making organizations more secure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and it was my pleasure to participate in this panel as a moderator. Thank you, Mr. Mohammed. You was great, and really we learned from you today. We learned from you. Thank you.